He wanted to spend some good time with his son, but they brutally murder him, thinking what an ordinary man can do against them. They were not aware of the fact that they were against most brutal assassin. And on that particular day, he painted perfect picture of what a revenge should be like.
Suck your own dick.
Welcome back to Paramount Recaps. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me. The story kicks off with two security guards from a company called Fortico. They're on the job when a cement truck rolls up in front of them. Suddenly, gunmen leap out and start ambushing the truck. They yank the guards out and begin stuffing cash into their bags. But things quickly spiral out of control as gunfire erupts amid the chaos. Fast forward 3 months, and we see Terry, the manager at Fortico, talking about that fateful truck heist where 2 guards and a bystander lost their lives. He informs Patrick Hill that he's stepping in to fill the shoes of the fallen guards. But before he can start, Hill has to pass a few firearm tests. Bullet, one of the seasoned guards, takes him under his wing for some quick training. Hill barely makes the cut, but it's enough to get him the job, and they start calling him H. H meets the rest of the crew, including Hollow Bob and Boy Sweat Dave, and gears up for his first day on the job. Their first money drop goes off without a hitch. Just a regular day in the office, but things take a wild turn the next day when H and Dave are out on another job. They're suddenly cornered by armed robbers communicating through walkie-talkies, ordering them to stop because they've got Bullet hostage. The robbers demand H toss the cash bags into the back of a pickup, but he intentionally drops one on the ground. When one of the robbers steps out to grab it, H swiftly throws a bag at him and then nails him with a headshot. What follows is pure chaos as H takes down every single one of the robbers with lethal precision before chasing down their leader. H corners him in a nearby building and finishes the job, blowing the guy's brains out. Terry isn't too happy with H's methods, though, and tells him he'll be stuck on desk duty for at least a month. But the Fortico CEO, Blake Halls, is more impressed than upset. He thinks H should be promoted and even asks him to review the footage of the earlier heist to see if any of the robbers seem familiar. H watches closely, focusing on one particular gunman, but he plays it cool and tells the others that nothing stands out to him. Turns out, 2 agents working for someone named King are also watching H closely, believing he'll eventually lead them to the crew behind the original robbery. The next day, H's colleagues cheer him on for his heroics, but he just thanks them and gets back to work. Everything seems normal until another 3 months go by. H and Bullet are out making a delivery when a bike suddenly blocks their path, and they're quickly surrounded by armed men. These guys attach a smoke bomb to the truck and force Bullet out, but as soon as H steps out and they see his face, they freak out and take off, abandoning their loot. Back at HQ, Terry can't wrap his head around why these armed robbers would just bail like that, but Blake doesn't care. He's more focused on promoting H, even joking that H might have his own franchise soon if he keeps this up. Meanwhile, Bullet has a chat with Boy Sweat Dave, suspecting there's more to H than meets the eye, calling him a dark spirit. Later that night, H sneaks into the apartment of a guard named Dana. He finds a stash of cash and starts questioning her. He even fires off a few warning shots to scare her into talking. She eventually admits to swiping some of that cash during a job a few months back. H then shows her photos of her parents, making it clear that if she's lying, there will be serious consequences. The film then jumps back 5 months earlier. H is hanging out with his son, Doogie, who's visiting the States for a holiday. H gets a call from his old criminal boss, Mike, who also led the crew that ditched him. Mike asks H for some help with one last job, but assures him it's just a favor. H doesn't need to get directly involved. So, H drives with Doogie near the docks where the heist is supposed to go down, only planning to tell Mike which way the truck is headed. But while H is grabbing food for himself and Doogie, the cement truck rolls in and the robbery begins. One of the gunmen orders Doogie out of the van. H sees this and rushes to save his son, but it's too late. A gunman with a scar near his eye shoots Doogie dead before H can reach him, and then shoots H multiple times. H ends up in a coma for nearly 3 weeks. When he finally wakes up, he learns that Doogie didn't survive. H's ex-wife, Jane, blames him for their son's death. H then meets up with Mike and the crew, who all feel responsible for what happened and agree to help H hunt down the men who killed Doogie. The group tears through the criminal underworld, interrogating anyone who might have information. Eventually, they get a lead on a group of criminal brothers. H tracks them down to a building where they're involved in all kinds of horrific crime. When the brothers can't give him any useful information, H kills them all. H then starts working at Fortico, Fortico. Keeping an eye on the guards there, he asks his assistant, Kirsty, to dig up files on the guards and get him a copy of Doojee's autopsy report. Meanwhile, we're introduced to the crew behind the first heist, a group of ex-military veterans from Afghanistan who are struggling to get by in America. The leader, Jackson, runs the crew, which includes Carlos, Sam, Tom, Brad, and finally Jan, the guy who killed Doojee and shot H. The movie takes a wild turn when Jackson and his crew start plotting their truck heist during a party. While they're celebrating, they notice H and his son Doojee pulling in. Things go south fast. Sam orders Doojee out of the van and to hit the ground, but Jan loses it and shoots both guards dead. Then, when he spots Doojee seeing his face, he doesn't hesitate to pull the trigger on him too, killing the kid right before he shoots H as well. After that disastrous heist, the crew is back at it, scheming for one last big score, over $150 million to split amongst themselves and their inside man, who turns out to be Bullet. Jackson and Tom are obsessively fine-tuning their plan in the weeks leading up to the job, but they're both a bit worried about Jan's unpredictable nature. Jackson keeps reassuring Tom that Jan will follow the plan, but there's clearly some tension. The crew finally makes their way to Fortico, where Bullet, the inside guy, spills the beans to H about feeding intel to the crew on which trucks to hit. He disables the security cameras and heads into an abandoned building. While Jackson's crew decked out in heavy bulletproof gear shows up, they tie H's hands and hop into the truck, kicking off the heist without a hitch. Everything seems to be going smoothly until one of the guards panics and hits the emergency button. That's when chaos erupts. Bullets start flying everywhere as they blow the doors off the cash stash. The crew starts taking out every guard in sight, turning the place into a bloodbath. They're cutting through half the place when one of their guys gets injured. After turning off the emergency alarm, they let their last man in with the pickup truck, loading up bags of cash while SWAT teams are already en route. But they're still 8 minutes away. With the cops blocking the entrance and SWAT closing in, H manages to grab a gun from one of the robbers and shoots him in the leg. Then he puts him in a chokehold until he stops moving. Thinking fast, H puts on one of the bulletproof suits and approaches a crew member loading cash into the truck. He has the guy take off his helmet, and when it's not Doojee's killer, he pulls the trigger without hesitation. Meanwhile, Jackson's crew is stuck and can't move because Dana and another guard have them pinned down. Bullet finally reveals himself, racing over to Dana for help, but when he gets a gun, he ends up executing both of them in the corridor. Dave tries to get back on his feet, but gets shot for his trouble. When Terry is forced out, H jumps in for a brutal hand-to-hand fight. He takes a hit, but ultimately manages to take down the attacker. Jackson's crew drags their injured buddy out, heading toward the getaway vehicle, while H opens fire with his automatic weapon. Dave manages to get back up, taking shots at the injured guy and finishing him off. But just then, H hears a click behind him. Bullet shoots him and thinks he's done for. Reloading, Bullet tells Dave the shooters have left. As Dave peeks out, he catches a full clip from Bullet as they speed away. H locks eyes with Jan, recognizing him as the guy who killed Doojee, leading to an intense stare down. The crew makes their escape, ramming their armored truck through 2 police cars, but they soon find themselves in a high-speed chase with SWAT and helicopters. After taking some fire, they duck into a building, sealing the entrance behind them. They have only 5 minutes to escape, and their plan is to slip through an underground access tunnel that's off the radar. Jackson has been injured when H got a good shot at his neck, and as they scramble to abandon the truck, Jan decides to finish Jackson off. He and Bullet load the cash into an elevator and make their way underground, jumping onto quad bikes to flee 3 miles to their getaway car. But Bullet realizes too late that Jan is a traitor and tries to kill him. Jan beats him to the punch, blowing Bullet's brains out before taking off with all the loot. In the chaos, there are hundreds of tunnels to escape through, and the police can't possibly cover them all in time, so Jan makes a clean getaway. Later on, we find Jan chilling in an apartment stacked with cash. He receives a phone call that surprises him. It's coming from the bag of money. Suddenly, H appears behind him, throwing down Doojee's autopsy report. Jan, looking confused, starts reading about the injuries Doojee suffered: shot in the liver, lung, spleen, and heart. As he stares at a picture of Doojee, memories flood back, and he realizes the kid was staring at him just moments before he died. In a rage, H starts to exact his revenge. He shoots Jan in the liver first, making him scream, then follows up with a shot to the lung. As Jan remembers Doojee lying on the ground, satisfied, H leaves the apartment only to be greeted by Agent King, who assures him that the job is complete and he'll be able to recover the stolen money. H then hops into a car with another guy, and they drive off into the night. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel out. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below with your suggestions for future videos, any questions you have, or just to say hi. Your feedback is super important to us and helps us create better content for you. Also, feel free to share this video with your friends, family, and on social media. It really makes a big difference and helps our community grow. You can follow us on Insert your social media handles for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. Thanks again for your support, and we'll see you in the next video.